and welcome to Coach Talk. In this season, as we're discussing relationships, we're going to continue with the influences that affect our relationships. And with me again is Reza John. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you for having me again.
So tell me, let's get straight into this.
Yes.
What are the influences that affect our relationships?
I think before we start, it's always good to separate the types of relationships that we as individuals have.
Okay.
So you have your relationship with your immediate family as you grow up. You have your siblings, you have your mother and your father, and the extended family, be they cousins and aunties. You have then relationships when you go to school. So you make friends. So these are not people that come to your house because they're related to you,
Right, yes.
but these that you choose to have friendships with. Then as you get older, you have friendships that either last longer or you end up having romantic relationships, for example, marriage
Right,
and
yes.
partnership. So I think it's each one has its own kind of aspect that it's important to bear in mind. You always allow certain amounts of openness with one type of relationship, and then with the other you don't. So it depends which kind of
But that
relationship.
also changes over time, right? Different stages in life, when you're open or when you're not, when you're vulnerable, or when things happen in life. Don't you think that also makes a difference? The different stages that a person goes through, that can also have that influence?
Yeah, I suppose if you're like a kid and you're 5 years old, you don't really have much to hide. You know, you're just with your friends and it's just
You're
go,
open.
right? It's just all fun. And as you get older and your personality develops and your mind develops and you have your, you know, things that matter to you and things that don't, and things that you want to keep for yourself, and then you start deciding which level of friends knows about which level of your life. You have the distant friends and you have the close friends. Obviously the smaller circle, the closer friend, knows more about the intimate aspects of you and your individuality as opposed to the distant friend.
Okay, but even still, I think that there are a lot of things that influence our relationships which we may not be aware of, which are external, for example. And we have these habits and we have these filters that are within us, whether it's from our family values, which is the influences that we carry forward, you know, to adulthood. So how does that, you know, affect us and actually, you know, sort of makes us in a particular way of dealing with relationships and even having relationships? Because a lot of us, I find, are even entering relationships because it looks good to somebody else to be in a particular way and to look for a particular person who is in a particular way, because that's what it is. But for them to be honest about who they like and who they want to be is not necessarily congruent nowadays. Then people are not authentic. What do you think about that?
Well, there's concepts that explain that the relationships that you have, the friendships that you have, you base them on certain things. So again, like if you have a friendship with someone, it may be based on shared values. If you have friendship with someone, it may be based on shared experiences.
Yeah.
So you go on holiday, make friends with someone. Or you go to a certain place where you have certain value, be it ideological, be it faith-based. You make friends with those people, and then either that friendship continues or sometimes it withers away. So going back to your point, I think what's important is that the friendships, you know, individuals are influenced by society and they influence society.
Yes.
It's like a two-way street,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's like a motorway where there's loads of cars going one
Yeah.
direction and loads of cars coming another direction. So the influence of society on you that builds your character, then influences your relationships.
Yeah.
That relationship that you make then also ends up influencing you, which you then end up influencing society.
Yeah.
So it's constant back and forth, data going back and forth, affecting how you think, affecting how you act, affecting the decisions you make. So if you come from a certain kind of cultural upbringing, you're gonna go towards direction of certain kind of friendships that you're gonna have, right?
Yeah, just society in general is an
Society in
influence.
general.
Yeah.
So at the moment, UK schools are going through what's called RSC, which is sex education for the youth, right?
Yes.
And they're starting them up from a really young age. We're talking
yes.
about like nursery. We're talking
Of
about like
course.
1, 2
Yeah,
years old.
Yeah.
Now, there's no way, without doubt, that education and that topic in school from that age
It's gonna
is not going to
affect.
have an effect
Yeah.
on the youth. because that was the whole point of them setting up, is to have an effect,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we can see that people are affected right from the young age, and that's just at school. Then what ends up happening at home, they will see, how does my dad and my mum interact
Absolutely.
with family?
Yeah,
How
they
does
pick
my
up.
mum, my dad,
Yeah.
my siblings interact with their friends? That becomes
watch.
a learning
Yeah.
as well. So that's
Yeah.
another aspect of the learning they take on that influences how they then deal with it. Then you always get to a certain stage where you're more aware of yourself, as opposed to you just sucking knowledge and information.
Yeah, you
right?
become to
You
create
become
your
more
own,
mature.
Yeah,
so
create
you're
your
able
own
to
identity.
think.
Yeah.
So obviously you've been influenced from those ideas
Yeah.
when you were coming up, but then you're like, you know what, I'm going to start reading about this philosopher's ideas and this teacher's ideas and this scholar's ideas and this all of the stuff, and then you try to make it sense out of it, incorporating what you've been raised with. Sometimes it may change what you're raised with, sometimes it reinforces what you're raised with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in humans there's this constant data going back and forth, analyzing it, making sense of it, identifying with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we as parents raise our kids with tools of being able to have relationships based on values, have relationship based on preserving themselves, because as I said, there's different relationships.
Yeah.
We want to teach our youth not to just give themselves away mentally and physically towards a relationship because it may cause them harm, right? We need them to understand that for every action there is a reaction.
Yeah.
So that also affects in friendships, right?
Absolutely, and
There's
that's
some
the main thing. Friendships are really important to discuss.
There's some friendships where the reaction is amazing,
Yeah, and others.
and others
Detrimental.
So I think it's enabling the youth to understand the tools, to teach them the tools to be able to differentiate between what is the detrimental relationship
Yeah.
and friendship, and which is the beneficial one.
I mean, the thing is also we have to understand that it is important to have relationships, and it does benefit us, and we just got to know like what benefit do we want from it, and how also we want to give in return. And I think that relationship influences. I think a lot of the time, if we're talking about couples, like I find a lot of couples, they can be in a really normal, good relationship, and then someone will come in, interfere or say something, and that could be an influence for absolutely no reason at all, can actually, stir the pot unnecessarily, for example. And that's what I find. So when you come to somebody, when you have some sort of issues in your relationship, it's really important, because even speaking to couples that have gone through divorce or separation, they always go back saying, I wish I did seek some, advice, some professional advice. It's good to go to family members, but there's a bias and there's a judgment. And when you, like I know, coaching couples, the way I do, it's another form of therapy, even though it's not therapy, because you do have couples therapy. But this is for even minor issues when you feel there is a little bit of conflict or there's a little bit of disconnect. And I think it really, really allows two people to understand each other where they wouldn't be able to do it alone. So you need that medium. And the influence there can be a lot more powerful. And I find that a lot of couples are not seeking the help that they need, and they're letting things go, and over time it becomes less communication, it becomes resentment, then the friendship dies, then the respect dies, and then it's really difficult, not to say it's not possible, but it becomes really hard to get back again. So as soon as you identify something that you're not comfortable with and it doesn't sit straight with you, because you can feel it, or we ignore it, or we just allow it to happen, or we will just live double lives, which is what I see a lot of the time in committed relationships. They're either held by their wife or husband to be in a particular way, and you think that that's what's going to make them stay with you and keep with you. But there's always a way, and they always find a way, and I know about that. And secondly, you're not dealing with the problem, and you're living lives and wasting time that is actually when you could be happy and satisfied, and then there's a lot of dissatisfaction, and then a lot of problems occur which end up where the family does break.
Yeah, I agree with you. The outside influence where you think, I've just, found a partner, I'm trying to settle in, and all of a sudden this out of the blue kind of influence comes in who's quite malign and quite malicious and wants to cause conflict between you, because maybe that person's unhappy, maybe that person
their viewpoint is different.
No, I'm talking
Even
about
so,
this
that's what I'm saying.
influence.
That viewpoint is different.
It's not that viewpoint different. They're just unhappy because you two are happy.
Yeah.
And so that influence is very detrimental. It could be it could, like you said, it could break up relationships.
I have seen that just from
especially if it's over time and it's continuous. So obviously we can't control what is maligned from outside always, but I think what you have to do is deal with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how do we as friends and it happens between friendships as well.
Yes.
So you have two people who are good friends, and then a third person's a bit jealous and they tries to cause a division between those two friends.
Yeah.
And then so how do we individuals, be it in a relationship of a partner or marriage or a friendship or even family, right? Brothers, sisters, how do we sit down and resolve, and this is a very important issue I think, because it happens a lot.
Absolutely.
And it happens in all of the societies everywhere, right?
Everyone.
How do we sit down and have a mechanism?
Yeah.
Because you can't say, oh, it won't happen to us because I've been, I don't have any enemies.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to have the mechanism because it can happen anytime.
Absolutely.
How do we have this? What mechanism do we need to have that will help us to overcome this difficulty? And I think, the ability to say, look, whatever, two individuals with friends is like, look, we're going to sort it out between us because we're not going to let something from outside come in and divide us. So first thing is, we're going to work it out.
Yeah.
There is the end result goal of working it out. Not like, oh, you know what, I don't really know if I care about you anymore.
But two people need to be invested for it to work as well.
But it has to be both.
Absolutely.
If you do it one way, what happens is it won't become successful because maybe temporarily or superficially you kind of resolved it.
Yeah.
But there's that underlying unhappiness, like you said before.
Yeah.
So you had to have a mechanism of saying, okay, you know what, first we're going to resolve it.
Yeah.
Now let's sit down. What are this person has said some stuff, maybe there's some truth in it, maybe there's some extra stuff that is not true. Let's deal with it. Be frank with each other, sit down and deal with it. Because sometimes people are scared to deal with things frankly because that person will get so hurt they'll leave.
Absolutely.
Or break the friendship.
Exactly, they're worried about the consequences, but they don't realize when they don't address it, those consequences only escalate.
Yeah, it grows. It's like a seed that will just grow to the point where it's just so big now, this tree, you can't chop it off, you can't get rid of it.
And I think it's really important that as individuals, we also have to have certain traits that we got to work on ourselves constantly to be able to deal with these influences and the outside, issues that come into your home or into your relationship, whether it's romantic or not. Because only a strong individual or an individual of a particular kind are able to handle these issues. Because if something was said from outside, are you that kind of person that's also just going to take that one viewpoint, or you're just going to blame? Because even in couples, a lot of the times, there's expectation, oh, she did this for her husband, so why are you not doing this for me? And it's very, very normal, even though it seems so trivial, but these things is like, it's so common nowadays that we just ignore it and we think it's part and parcel of everyday marriages or relationships, but it's not, and it's breaking people and it's making them not even want to like each other because they feel that there's a constant expectation, there's a constant need and a want, and there's never satisfaction because people are coming from outside and putting things in that are unrealistic, and they're trying to make it realistic to say that if it happens there, it should happen with us, and it doesn't work that way. But you know what shapes our relationships? What do you think shapes our relationships to be in a particular way? What are the main influences that you think, our choices and things like that?
I think there's the inner aspect of us, in Arabic they call it the nafs, the inner carnal inside of a human being, where it draws you towards food and, your needs, your physical needs.
Yeah.
Then there's the higher state of us, the higher transcendent state where you look at things in a more, spiritual, in a more higher state of being, understanding, right? So you've got these two completely different ideologies clashing with each other, trying to form who you are.
Yeah.
And from that mold of individual, you try to figure out, who you want to spend your time with, who your friends are, who you want to end up marrying, how you want to interact with your parents, because you don't choose your parents, right? So they're from the beginning when you're born, but how you want to interact with them. So I think depending on which direction you go as an individual, so if I want to elevate myself, my mental being, my spirituality to a higher state, I try to follow maybe those ideals of what kind of relationships I should have. If I'm more in tune with my material, with my, day-to-day state of life, then I'll be influenced by a lower state of understanding. So maybe things like Instagram, maybe things like Facebook or TV or movies will influence me.
I think this is really interesting because, I mean, you're someone who seems to have gone through life and have a lot of experience, and obviously with age and time. And this is not just for people that
Let's just say time, not age, yeah?
okay, just time. But I'm just saying, this episodes are going to give insight to people that they don't necessarily have to go through that experience, but learn from it. Because when you're young, all you're looking at, and that's all I see, she's hot, he's got a nice car, he's got a good profession, and honestly, those are the only boxes that they need ticking. That's it. There's nothing else, to be fair. Absolutely anything else that comes in. And I'm saying the way you're talking right now, like half the people will be like, yeah, whatever. I'm not even interested. I have people that come to me even in their late 20s. If she's not looking in a particular way, she's not going to be mine. Because she has to match me. And these are guys are saying it, and girls are the same. He has to have a bank balance. He has to be able to look after me. It's all about finance. So these are the real issues that we might think that, it's normal, but we need to just brush it to one side. But that's the reality today. Those are the real influences, really. As much as you say it has to be spiritual or whatever, it's not that. It's how hot.
No, I said there's two types of people. So these people that you're describing are the more carnal people, right? Where they want to be looked after by a rich husband. I'm not saying you should totally eradicate that. It is important. No, you definitely don't, because you need to have. I mean, there's a reason why it's there.
Of course.
It's a driving force, right?
Absolutely.
If you didn't have this driving force for having a partner and relationship, the world population would just die out because everybody would be too busy, thinking about
exactly.
the
higher self,
the paradise and stuff like that. Yeah. So there is a reason why it's there, but it has to be controlled and managed.
Yes.
If you let your desires control
you,
who you are, and thus what relationships you have, you're going to have heartbreak after heartbreak after
Absolutely.
heartbreak after heartbreak.
Now this is what the point is. This is what the show's about. Is to give people that insight that what are they doing consistently and making mistakes that they need to go and reflect, reevaluate their way of choosing, their way of being, so that they can actually have better beings around them in whichever relationship they enter into, whether it's in friendships or in romantic relationships or colleagues or whatever it may be. And that's what people are not being, educated about. And the theory gives theory, but at the end of the day, this is real life. We come from real life experiences. We're talking about insights that I have seen other couples and other families and other members are going through. I have that insight. I coach a lot of individuals with these issues, and that's why I created the show, because so many questions come to me, and it's so obvious, but at the same time, to a lot of people it is not. So I think it's really important that, again, we have to looking to self-develop constantly, even from a young age, or even if you think you're at an older age where you are, you've been there, you've done it, there's still time to improve. There is still things that you need to improve in order to improve your relationships. And I think it's really important. And I think also, like, when you were talking before about being sincere, now how do you bring being sincere into a relationship?
I think sincerity is from inside. You have to start the sincerity with yourself first, and then when you're able to be sincere with your friend, that person, if they're also on the same wavelength as you, they will reflect that sincerity as well. If you're like, not sincere and you expect sincerity, it's very difficult because it feeds off each other, right?
Now I have this issue that comes to me all the time, that again, at the beginning of any relationship, friendship or whatever it may be, there is mercy, there is forgiveness, there's sincerity. Now there comes a point, 7-year itch, 10-year ditch. Have you heard of that? A lot of people have.
Wait, this friends or relationships?
Relationships.
Okay.
Friendships, they break at any time, right? Yeah. But with relationships, because you're committed to each other for such a long time, that you become complacent. You don't show that empathy. You don't show that sincerity. You don't feel anything for that person after a while. And I'm also questioning that why is it that the one person that's so close to you, or the one person that you claim to love and you vow or you make these promises, that's the one person that you can hurt and you can betray and you can totally disregard, just like that, even after years of investment? What is the answer to that?
Probably there's no one clear answer, but complacency in any relationship, especially if it's a loving partner, marriage relationship, causes obviously decay from inside. And I think, like we discussed before, where marriage, or if we talk about marriage relationship, it evolves in time, right?
Yeah.
So we need to understand that. So we can't expect it to be like it was, the honeymoon stage.
Exactly.
And a friendship is also the same. That when you have a friendship, it grows with strength. So the more time you spend together, the more activities you do together, the more life experiences you share, the more values that you have. That becomes, a lot of times you see friends who spent years together, because he's not like a friend anymore, he's like my brother.
Right.
She's not like a friend from me, she's like my sister. Sometimes that friend has been closer to that individual than the sibling of that individual.
Yes, yeah.
Why? They're blood. Those two are blood, but their connection has been weak. So I think that the sincerity, like you said, has to be both ways. Has to be, again, an investment of you both into this friendship or relationship. And I think that ultimately, we're like, everyone is really alone in the world.
Yeah.
No matter if you have a best friend, no matter if you're married, no matter if you have a mom or dad, there's times when everything seems okay on the outside.
Yeah.
They have the nice car, they have the nice house, they have the nice clothes, everything looks amazing. But inside they feel alone. They could be lying next to their partner.
Of course, yeah.
They feel
or
alone.
Even in a group of people, I always
and
see.
that's individual from
yeah.
inside.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? So people have to work on themselves. They have
Absolutely.
to find that what is, and I don't want to say happiness, but what makes me content?
Yes.
What makes you content? That's why I said to you, there's the highest state and the lowest state. That lowest state will never ever make you content.
Absolutely.
It will make you temporarily happy.
Yes.
Because you bought a new car, a new house, you got a new partner or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll make you temporarily happy, but it will never make you content and at peace. For you to get at peace, you have to come out from the lowest state of being to the highest state of being. Once you're at that stage, even if you have one friend,
It's
that
enough.
one friend is enough for you.
Yeah.
And that one partner that you've had, and it could be 7 years, 10 years, whatever years, you're content, you're happy with.
Yeah.
And that happiness is different to the happiness that you see in Hollywood, the
Yes.
romantic. You're just content, you're at peace with each other, and you're living your life together.
I think
so
it's
really
very
important for an individual to grow
absolutely.
and to grow those relationships.
I think what you've highlighted is so important, because we need to really look at ourselves as individuals as to what level we're operating with. And you saying it as you are about, yes, every day I think we're just chasing that lower level, and we're trying to live in the complete fulfillment and happiness in that lower level, but you're not going to get it. So we need to create ourselves to in that higher being and being in that higher state of mind, so that whoever comes or even goes, it doesn't break and rock us even, and we can actually work at things that are important and maintain it. And I think that's really, really important. I think you've really, given us like an amazing insight as to how to bring outside influences or culture or society, and even if we might blame them, but actually no, it all comes from inside.
Yeah, when you get to a certain age, like we still say, oh, my family were making me do this, they told me this. But you're at that stage now, you know
choose.
it's wrong.
Yeah,
you can choose.
you can choose.
So it may be a habit, and habits are hard to break, but it's still breakable.
Absolutely.
And it's ultimately up to you
That's
to break
where
those
I work
chains.
with people to have that transformation and change. People don't want to change, they don't embrace it. And also when you're going through relationships, there's going to be trials, but those trials actually test you to be stronger. But people want to avoid it because they think that's going to break them, and in a way it does.
And the only way to grow is to have the trials.
Absolutely.
The only way to become successful is to have trials.
Absolutely.
You can't attain stuff without being tried, without being tested. Those ones want to become a doctor, they go through 6 years of hard, study to get there. That person who wants to become an engineer or whatever, you have to put the time in to get the results.
Absolutely.
And like you said, a lot of people, they're not interested in the highest state of being. That may be so, but that one individual who is, once they get to that level of higher understanding of, like, really the life that we live in is a dream.
Yes.
Is a facade. It's just
It's a matrix.
It's the matrix. It's just a sugar candy.
Yeah.
When you sit down and really reflect on, like you said, days that you hustle really hard because you want to attain something physical. And I think, okay, I really got that thing that I really wanted, but ultimately it didn't make a difference in my state of being.
Absolutely.
Your state of being. So, yeah, most people maybe not go to the highest state, but those individuals who do, they're so content with their life, with whatever small amount that they have in their relationships.
And they don't realize that that is so much power within a person as well.
Well, it's empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're not enslaved by the physical, materialistic things of this world, you're more empowered, you're freer than.
Well, if many people don't know it, they certainly know it now, and hopefully we will highlight this again and again throughout the episodes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. It was an amazing discussion.
No, it was amazing insight.
I just hope people, from the discussions we have, they genuinely take something away to reflect on.
No, they will.
Because ultimately, this life, a scholar asked me once, he goes, how quickly, how old were you at the time I said I'm, 37? He goes, how quickly did the 37 years go? So I said, with a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Because how quick do you think your next 37 years will go? I said, with another blink of an eye. So with 2 blinks of an eye, we'll have a lifespan.
Absolutely. So
what have I achieved in my heart that will make me content, that when I leave, I'm content with myself, as opposed to thinking, you know what, I have all of that maybe wealth or all that struggle I did to get the wealth, but I'm not happy with my heart, I'm not content with myself. So it's important that we remember that we have a short amount of time in this world.
No, we do, and thank you again, and thank you viewers for watching this episode. I hope that even though it is something that is not directly into having the right relationship, but when you build yourself as an individual, those relationships around you will be the right things that will come to you. And we will see you in the next episode of Coach Talk. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.